Good morning and welcome to Breakfast with Naga Manchetti and Charlie State.
Our headlines today. 6 people, including a child under the age of 10, have died in a shooting in a residential area in Plymouth.
We sat in the back garden having a cup of coffee, just heard 4 gunshots. And then we seen, obviously, the ambulance, helicopters trying to land in the park.
The gunman is believed to have died in the shooting. We'll have the latest from the scene and interviews with local MPs later in the programme.
Taliban militants have captured Afghanistan's second biggest city as Britain and the United States send troops back to help their nationals leave the country.
Good morning from the birthplace of Shakespeare. COVID restrictions may have lifted, but destinations like this are reliant on international visitors. I'll be finding out how businesses have fared this summer.
Good morning. Shockwaves run through British athletics as an Olympic silver medalist is suspended for an alleged doping violation. CJ Uja, part of the 4x100 metre relay team, has tested positive for a banned substance. He and the rest of the team face being stripped of their medals.
Good morning from Camas Hall Farm in Hertfordshire, where we are surrounded by approximately 100,000 sunflowers. There is some sunshine in the forecast today, but there's also areas of cloud and some heavy thundery showers across the north of the country, accompanied by brisk winds. But I'll have a full weather roundup in about half an hour.
Good morning, it's Friday the 13th of August. Our main story this morning, 6 people, including a suspected gunman, have died in a shooting in a residential area of Plymouth.
Police were called to the Keyham area of the city at 6 in the evening and a critical incident was declared. The victims include 2 women and 2 men and a child aged under 10. The local MP, Luke Pollard, has called the incident unspeakably awful. Our reporter John Kay has more.
Police worked through the night, securing the scene 1 mile from the centre of Plymouth. It was here on Biddick Drive in the Keyham area of the city that the incident started at around 6 o'clock yesterday evening. Neighbours told the BBC they heard shouting at one property, a door slamming, then gunshots. Other residents said the gunman then continued shooting in the surrounding streets.
We sat in the back garden having a cup of coffee, just heard 4 gunshots. And then we seen, obviously, the ambulance, helicopters trying to land in the park.
Well, I heard a shot, walked around the corner, bumped into the shotgun, the bloke with the shotgun, seen a woman in the doorstep and walked over her and helped her.
4 people died at the scene. 2 were male and 2 were female. Another female died in hospital a short time later. It's not clear how old they were, but they all died from gunshot wounds. Police said the 6th person killed was believed to be the offender. He also died at the scene. Officers said the shootings were not thought to be terror-related. After speaking to the Chief Constable of Devon and Cornwall Police, the Home Secretary Priti Patel said on Twitter that she was shocked by the incident. She urged the community to remain calm. Devon and Cornwall Police have told people in this area not to speculate on social media about what might have happened here or why, and not to share any distressing images on social media. A local school and church will open today for the community to come together as they try to understand why a summer's evening in Devon turned into a mass shooting. John Kay, BBC News, Plymouth.
And we're going to be talking to local MPs Luke Pollard and Johnny Mercer about that later this morning.
Taliban militants in Afghanistan have captured the country's second biggest city, Kandahar, as they continue their rapid advance across the country.
UK soldiers will arrive in Kabul this weekend to help an estimated 4,000 British nationals leave the country. US troops have also been deployed. Ramzan Kamali has this report.
Another day of Taliban advances saw the militants move into Herat, Afghanistan's 3rd largest city, and Ghazni, less than 150 kilometres from the capital, Kabul. In the last week, the Taliban have taken control of 12 provincial capitals, including the country's 2nd biggest city, Kandahar, which fell overnight. The UK, US and other foreign troops withdrew from Afghanistan after 20 years of military operations. But now Britain is deploying 600 troops to relocate UK nationals, Afghan staff and interpreters. The US is also sending 3,000 soldiers back.
This is a temporary mission with a narrow focus. As with all deployments of our troops into harm's way, our commanders have the inherent right of self-defense, and any attack on them can and will be met with a forceful and inappropriate response.
But one British politician and former soldier is clear as to who is to blame for the current turmoil.
But these are our problems, our decisions that we made 10, 15 years ago of not talking to the Taliban, of not training up in Afghan forces, but most critically, imposing Western solutions on a country that wasn't ready for it by any means.
Peace talks with the Taliban are still ongoing in Doha, but they seem far removed from what is going on the ground. The rapid takeover of territory by the insurgents has been startling. According to the UN, more than 1,000 Afghan civilians have been killed in the last month, with thousands more travelling to Kabul to seek refuge. One estimate says that more than 70,000 children arrived in the capital in recent days, with most sleeping rough. But with the fall of the significantly strategic city of Ghazni, the fear is Kabul could fall sooner rather than later. Ramzan Karmali, BBC News.
Yes, we'll get more on that story at 7:30 this morning, speaking to the Defence Secretary, Ben Wallace, so that's coming up a little later.
Now, analysis of the spread of COVID within UK hospitals has shown that during the first wave, more than 1 in 10 patients caught the virus after being admitted for an unrelated illness.
The transmission rates vary considerably depending on where the patients were treated, which the authors of the study say demands urgent investigation. Here's our health correspondent, Naomi Grimley.
Falling ill with COVID while in hospital for something else was one of the most worrying features of the first wave of the pandemic. A new study from a group of UK universities has examined the numbers to see how common it was. The researchers found that at least 1 in 10 hospital patients with COVID were infected after admission. At the peak, this rose to more like 1 in 5. Overall, this research suggests 11,800 people may have been infected this way, and possibly more because early data is unclear. Crucially, there were big variations between similar types of hospital, and that's down to different preventative measures.
Even at the peak of the outbreak, we saw that some busy hospitals still managed to maintain good infection prevention control. That meant that there was good hand washing, there was good testing of patients, so the right patients were tested and kept separately from non-infected patients. Better ventilation on some of the wards would have helped, and access to a plentiful supply of PPE would have helped. But these are all counsels of perfection. We didn't know all that at the start of the outbreak, and we know there was challenges around testing and challenges around the availability of PPE.
The researchers say the levels of hospital-acquired infections for COVID are now much lower, thanks to the vaccination programme and a better understanding of how the virus spreads. Naomi Grimley, BBC News.
The father of American singer Britney Spears has agreed to step down as her conservator after 13 years.
The pop star has been mounting a series of legal challenges to the court agreement which gave her father control over her estate and other aspects of her life. A lawyer representing Britney says it's another step forward toward justice. Our correspondent Barbara Plett-Usher has more.
This has been quite a year for Britney Spears. She finally began to speak out about the arrangement that controls her life. The target of that anger was her father, Jamie, the man who became her conservator after she apparently suffered a breakdown 13 years ago. It's a sort of guardian role to handle all of her affairs. During recent court hearings, the singer accused him of using her money for himself and of abusing his power. Speaking directly to the judge, she said she wanted more control of her finances and her body. She even alleged that the conservatorship was forcing her to use birth control when she wanted to have a baby. Mr. Spears has also become a focus of anger for fans in the Free Britney movement. He says the attacks are unjustified and that there are no grounds for removing him, but that he is now willing to step down to avoid a public battle with his daughter when the time is right. The singer still can't spend her vast fortune as she pleases. It's likely her father will eventually be replaced by a professional accountant. But her fans and her lawyer are hailing what they see as a vindication of her position and an important step towards setting her free. Barbara Plett-Usher, BBC News, Los Angeles.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.